Hey, what's going on, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I'm thinking about the Golden State Warriors for some reason. Woke up in the morning, just read a little headline that said something along the lines of "What is James Wiseman's role?" And knowing me, I'm not going to click on anything. I'm going to let that take my mind somewhere and create my own content. So that's what I'm doing. But it's not about necessarily copying what they're saying there. It's more so about looking at the Golden State Warriors and understanding that okay, now it's time to reshift. You didn't make the trade for Kevin Durant. That's fine. Um, you still have your talent. You still have a bunch of picks. You still have a lot going for yourself, obviously. But the thing that you've run into, NBA champions, not a problem at all. But the thing that you've run into now is you got a couple kids who are going into year two, going into year three, who really don't have the role. And we refer back to some of the same. Uh, yeah, hope that didn't break. That's my only pipe. No, it didn't break. Thank goodness. Anyway, yeah. The problem with the situation is this. What you don't want to have happen is you don't want guys like Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, James Wiseman, and of course Jordan Poole to not be able to step up into their proper roles, the roles that you intend for them to have as players with the type of cachet that they're going to be, uh, garnering with the type of talent that they have. You want to put them in a position to be able to show what they can do so that you can raise their value to their proper level and get something for them if you're not going to keep them and pay them. Because what ends up happening is whatever they're going to be, you're going to have to make the decision to either let them walk, which no one really wants to do, or get something for them. And in the event you get something for them, these are the decisions that you make that ultimately help with that return. You do not want the pieces that you have to ultimately to be worthless when it's time for you to go ahead and retrade them, when the purpose of what it is that you're doing is to try to keep yourself a win now team in the balance of all of this. So that to me means you want to make sure that you get the most return for those young kids so that you can keep the win now talent around Draymond, Steph, and Clay that you ultimately want to keep for them in their twilight years. Um, so having Moses Moody stay on the back of the bench as a role player, not turn into a starter, or having Jonathan Kuminga constantly playing behind Draymond Green, same situation. That's not what's best for those players, and that's not what's best for the organization as it pertains to raising those players' value. So I don't know that there's a solution for this. I don't think they have a solution for this, but it is a problem. So that's just it. In a perfect world, you'd be able to easily move on from older guys and move up the young guys. But this ain't that type of situation, obviously. And in another situation, you say, okay, well, maybe we move on from the young guys and just, make it a win now situation. Unfortunately, those young guys are a little too good to be doing that with all willy nilly, so to speak. That's an actual core. They got real lottery picks because they had some bad years. So it wasn't like they just, like the Lakers found some guys through the second half of the draft or in undrafted pools. No, no, no. These are lottery picks that are supposed to be helping start franchises and move teams in a better direction. They can't turn into what they're supposed to be if they're constantly playing behind old veterans and who've won championships a million times over, who not going to move out the way even though it's time to move the hell out the way. And it is. To be honest, it is. Let's just be real. And we're not talking about just the specifics of these players. We're talking about the age of where the players are with the Golden State Warriors, and just players of that age in general. It's time to get out the way. I'm just gonna be honest. It's time to get out the way. If you're not playing at a level like Bron and KD, you need to let these young guys come in and start their path, man. And that's why expansions is so important. That's why you need more teams. So the old guys ain't got to push out the way when they still got enough left in the tank so that the new guys can push in. And the new guys ain't got to sit here and play these Kuminga roles when they know damn well they should be starters in teams. So I'm not frustrated with the Golden State Warriors. I think they found themselves in a great position right now, which is why they have this problem. This is what you want. It's just part of it. But I think the right thing to do is to start figuring out this season who you believe in and who you don't in regards to those young players. Or do the blasphemous thing. Start preparing for the exodus of a couple of those veteran champions. And you know who the two need to go. You know who they are. I ain't even got to mention their names. There's 2 out of 3 that are going to have to move out the way. And we love them. We love them. But if Golden State is going to continue on the path they're on, Jordan Poole is going to need to step up. And it ain't about him not willing to step up. This isn't me challenging him. It's about the Golden State Warriors organization moving pieces around so that that can be possible. He is not, and when I speak of him, he's a bit more ready than a Moody. He's a bit more ready than Kuminga. He's a bit more ready than Wiseman because he's had the time to play. Unlike those guys who have had their issues getting some playing time. So I personally think Jordan Poole is one season away from a $100 million contract. And that's how real that is. His talent level and what it is that he does within the confines of what it is that he does, he's elite. Absolutely elite. You know what I mean? And so when it really comes down to it, he's not a role player. I think he's better than a starter. I think he could be an all-star as soon as 3 years from now, 2 years from now, depending on the role he's given. So this is one of them situations where it's like, nah, he's not. He ain't a regular guy. He should not be in a role behind Klay Thompson. He should not be in a role behind anybody, to be honest with you, at all. So this is just a problem that the Golden State Warriors have run into, in my humble opinion. They can afford to do this for another year because those guys are still developing, to be honest with you. It's not crazy that they go into this season with these guys in this role, but we're starting to enter Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum 3 years ago territory with the Golden State Warriors. That's what we're about to enter. As to where, okay, this is dragging on too long. Get Gordon Hayward out of here. Move Kyrie Irving so those guys can step up. This is one of those. This is exactly that. And I know they don't want to do that. But I'm going to tell you guys what I know. I would never let go of Klay Thompson. I've said this on camera before. He's retiring to Golden State Warriors if it's up to me. But he will be moving to the bench. That's happening. He's moving to the bench. He's going to be our sixth man off the bench. I'm moving Jordan Poole into the starting lineup. And I'm giving him those minutes, and I'm not apologizing for it. And the reason why is because Klay's a couple steps slow. He's a couple steps slow. He's not the elite defender he was in the past, and his shooting's not where it was. And that's okay, because everybody faces Father Time, and he's had some serious injuries he has to work his way back from, and it takes a while to get his conditioning to where it needs to be, and there's no guarantee he'll get back to there just because it's Father Time on top of the injury. But at the end of the day, and I mean at the end of the day, if the Golden State Warriors are thinking clearly about their future, if they're thinking absolutely clearly, then they need to make sure that they bring Jordan Poole's value up. And you're not going to do that by having him pay off the bench. Not with the type of style that he plays. You need to see him 30-plus minutes on the floor so he can entertain and put points up. And once he starts stringing together them 33-point games, them 36-point games, them 40-point games that are coming, then you'll understand what I'm trying to explain to you. Then you'll understand exactly what I'm saying to you. He is not somebody who should be playing a role of a role player. I'm sorry. Not anymore. No more. In that. So I know that's not going to be popular. Like I said, if I were a Golden State Warriors fan, I probably wouldn't be singing this tune. You know, my respect for Klay and Dre and all those guys is immense. You know what I mean? I'm not sitting up here trying to say that they should be out of the league or not be starters or not be Warriors or anything like that. I'm just saying that when you have assets that you need to assure goes in the right direction so you can remain a champion, these are the moves that have to be made. The Golden State Warriors were smart enough to develop into a tanking team for a couple years to acquire this talent. I believe they would be smart enough to evaluate it properly, get the most out of it, and ultimately do what they should with it. I believe that because they are one of the best organizations in the league. But they do have this in front of them. It's in front of them. And you know, I was thinking about Moses Moody. He's the one guy that I just look at and I say he's the one that's taking the worst of it. Even though with Gary Payton moving on and with Otto Porter moving on, maybe you could see a possibility of him finally being able to get those minutes that his talent level actually should have. But you know, a trade to the Mavericks or a trade to the Lakers or something like that would be tremendous for Moses Moody, because there are teams out there who could use shooting and could use a talent like that and have the role for him, and he's just sitting on the bench in Golden State. And that's great for his development as it pertains to being in a championship situation around veteran leadership. Obviously the best vets and leaders there is. So I'm not unhappy with his circumstances. I'm just saying at some point in time we got to realize if he's ever going to turn into the Moses Moody that he was drafted to be, he's going to have to stop being their little brother. He's going to have to stop being little bro. Same with Kuminga, same with Wiseman. Obviously, we see Wiseman's opportunities on the horizon because clearly the role was meant for him. Although they paid Kevon Looney, they moved on from Juan Toscano Anderson, of course, he's with our squad, the Lakers. And you could totally see that Wiseman's going to be their starting center. He's definitely the starting center. So it's just about him getting his conditioning going. So you see the path for him. And then Kuminga is just about, for me, in my mind, I look at Kuminga and say the more positions he could play, the more opportunities he'll have. If he could slip down into the three and play the three very comfortably, which his skill set should allow him to do, the minutes should be there for him. But if he's only going to play the four, it's going to be hard for him to get on the floor. If he could play some small ball five, which I expect them to try to, throw him in there sparingly when necessary, it probably won't be. But these are the things that ultimately will give him the opportunity to get more minutes. I think Moses Moody can probably play 2 or 3 positions as well, maybe even 4. So that might help with those guys being kind of multi-positionally sized. But at the end of the day, I'm just not really certain if they got the opportunity to minutes that they are going to ultimately be best for having. So that's what I want to see, man. I want to see the Golden State Warriors make a firm decision on a few of those guys. Honestly. And look, I know I'm the bad guy when I say it's time to move on from Clay and Dre. I know I am. But at some point in time, the Golden State Warriors are going to have to be honest and say, you're holding on to something and it's working now because y'all just won the championship. It ain't done yet. But you're going to have to look at the clock and say at some point in time, we got to pull the trigger on this, or we're going to have to bring them a KD-like player and get out from under these kids. It's going to have to be one. You can't live in this limbo for much longer, I don't believe. I don't think you can live in this limbo much longer because it's going to start becoming a situation where you're going to have to start paying these guys. It's that simple. You're going to have to start paying them. So for my money and what I'm about and making sure that my team has sustainable greatness for long term, or at least be a good team for long term, it's just a bad situation. It's a bad situation because in my mind, I want Dre at a discount. I want Dre at $6 million. And I know that's blasphemous. He would not approve. I don't blame him for not. But what I'm saying is what I want if I'm Joe Lacob. I want him at a requisite amount of price that represents what it is I expect him to give me going forward. Not what it is he's been giving me, not his legacy money. It's certainly not what he's due at all. No, I want him at a major discount because I want him to play a much lesser role over the next several years. So if he's at the price he's been at for the vision that BDF has, that ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna work. I need that to be Kuminga. I need that to be Wiseman. And I need the money that he's making to be in their hands, unfortunately, the way this situation works with the cap. That's what's best for the Golden State Warriors in my mind. That's what keeps them young, healthy, and a playoff team, contending type team for years to come. And look, I hate to pull these guys away from one another, but the reality of where we're standing is this. You still have a very elite superstar in place. Steph Curry is not at all anything less than he was 3-4 years ago in my mind. He's still that guy, and he's a win now piece. And because of it, believe it or not, it's your responsibility to keep him with a win now current team. Now, part of that is making sure he's happy. And getting with his brothers, I don't think he's going to make him happy. But if they all turn into what the Heat turned into when LeBron James was sitting there and everybody got old on him, Steph Curry's going to be in a situation where the Golden State Warriors ain't going to be the Golden State Warriors, and his brothers ain't going to be able to help him win like they just did. That ain't a fun situation. At the end of the day, key pieces of why they won the NBA championship. Not his brothers, no disrespect, but it was Wiggins, it was Looney, it was Gary Payton, it was Otto Porter. We know who just did the hard, heavy lifting for that championship they just won. We know. It was Steph, Wiggins, those names. Come on now. Clay was struggling. Dre was awful. We ain't going to lie. That's not what we're going to do here. Both of them superstar, great Hall of Fame champ. Them dudes was not the ones winning that championship, helping Steph Curry with his best performance in the finals ever. No, that wasn't who did it. Some of them dudes they let go was who did it. So we need to just look at the Golden State Warriors, understand that they lost significant defense in what they just did right now. Significant defense. Letting Juan come our way, letting Gary go ultimately to the Portland Trail Blazers, and of course Otto going to Toronto. Those are three huge defensive key players for the Golden State Warriors that they're going to desperately miss. I'm telling y'all, Clay and Dre, they don't affect defense like they used to. Not like that. Dre still does in a lot of very key ways. Don't get it twisted. But it ain't what it was. And because it ain't what it was, you still need those defensive pieces in place. You lost to this is real. So I don't know, man. For me, for my money, it's time to start thinking about moving them guys up. And if the vets want to be a part of this thing, then they're going to have to be a part of this thing as it makes sense. Step backwards. Let the young guys take more of a heavy lifting and just stay ready. I'm pushing them out the way. I'm a cold GM. I'm a cold basketball mind. I don't know anybody. You know what I'm saying? I'm in my own apartment. I ain't emotionally attached. This ain't no money for me. You know what I'm saying? It's all chess piece. So I respect that what I'm saying is very frivolous in nature and could affect a lot of people if they were to listen to my opinion and follow it. But what I'm telling you is I don't care about anything as it pertains to what is real, as it pertains to people's feelings, all that when I talk about this stuff, because it's just my opinion. And nobody has to move on my opinion. But what I am saying is youngsters are going to keep you current. And if you got high-level youngsters who have to be paid and you're paying the legacy guys who can't do the heavy lifting anymore, you're going to find yourself living with the consequences of that very soon. So I hope y'all enjoyed that championship. I do think y'all have a great chance of winning another one. But going forward, y'all better fix this. Y'all better fix this, because as Dre and Clay continue to get old and y'all continue to lean on them and y'all continue to let defensive players and young players leave, y'all going to get less and less of a threat. They're going to be less and less of a threat, and that's going to be less and less of an advantageous situation for Steph Curry. I don't think he'll be looking to go nowhere, but I've also never seen the Golden State Warriors be an undesirable place for him to want to be. Don't let it turn into that. My name is BDF44. I'll take you off watching.